Hey, it's Kley. Welcome to another video. Today is going to be an experimentation about clipping in a guitar signal. I have spent a number of years now, man, it's probably been over 10 years that I have been recording myself playing electric guitar. And in the last year or two, I have had these weird suspicions that there's some clipping that's been going on in some of my guitar recordings. And I haven't really been able to pinpoint the problem, but I was doing some recordings with my Super Reverb set really loud, and it was much more prominent than it maybe has been other times. So I'm at a complete loss. I'm going to do a bunch of experiments to try to isolate and repeat the issue, and then do some research to see if I can try to figure it out. If you are having troubles with clipping in your signal, hopefully this can give you some insight into that, or if you're just curious about the debugging process, maybe this can be helpful to you too. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so let's talk about the symptoms I've been experiencing. Symptom number one is this almost always seems to occur at very high volumes. I don't really ever have this problem when I'm recording my voice or acoustic guitar, or even some of my smaller amps set at a little bit quieter volumes. I play at quieter volumes a fair bit just because I live with a family and I'm not always able to crank the amps up really loud, but especially if I'm playing some of my bigger amps like my Trainwreck clone, my Plexi, and my Super Reverb. So these are all big boy amps, probably pushing 40 or 50 watts. And if I turn them up pretty loud, something starts clipping. So let's talk about the signal path from there, okay? Right now I'm into the Super Reverb. I've got a 212 cabinet down here. I even wondered at some point if I had thought that I had broken a speaker. If you look back at my 212 videos, I actually have some videos where I swapped out the speakers that I'm testing out. I think I've got an Eminence red, white, and blue speaker. I thought I might need a higher powered speaker, that whatever I had in there previously was underpowered or had been broken or blown up or something. So I thought maybe it was a speaker issue. So I actually ended up swapping out the speaker. And I'm not saying that wasn't a bad change to make, and maybe some of the clipping I was hearing in one of those recordings was related to the speaker, but that really hasn't solved the issue that I think that I'm hearing. From there, let's talk about microphones. For a long time, I used an SM57. That mic actually bit the dust when one of my little kids was playing with it and broke it. So I've got a couple other mics that I've been using a lot. The first one is this AKG C214 microphone. It's a large diaphragm condenser mic, and that's kind of the theme. A lot of the mics that I've been using recently are large diaphragm condensers. This one has a pad switch, and I noticed that sometimes I really have to engage the pad switch if I'm going to play the amp really loud. So from there, I go to my microphone into my audio interface. Now, right now I've got an Audient ID22. I also have a Behringer UMC 204 HD, and I've got a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. I have used all three of them. I believe that the issue is not related to the audio interface or anything forward from that. Because the test I most recently did that I'm going to try to replicate is on my screen, my DAW, which is on an iMac right now using Reaper, you can see that the signal is not clipping outside of the bounds of the track. And even with the Audient, I have a 10 dB pad switch, and you can turn the level down of the preamp, and keeping those things down. So I can put the pad switch on the mic, the pad switch on the Audient, and turning the preamp volume down. I was still experiencing some clipping. And I even did another test where I played it where the signal is kind of where I normally would set it, where there's maybe you can see a healthy amount of signal, but also still some room left. And then I turned it down maybe 10 or 20 dBs and kept playing. And then I took that second quieter track and I turned up the volume in on my software in the DAW, and the clipping was still there. So my suspicion is basically that the clipping has to be somewhere prior to the audio interface, because if turning the volume down on the audio interface and making it so that it's not clipping on the DAW, then it has to be coming from somewhere prior to that. And from what I can think of, it might be related to the microphone. And I also wonder, I mean, it could also be related to my gear, like a tube or a speaker, but I honestly don't think that's the case because I don't really hear it in the room. So what I'm going to focus on is kind of the question of, is it possible to clip a microphone? For example, SM57s are often praised for their ability to handle higher volumes. Is that what I'm experiencing here? That this more sensitive, large diaphragm condenser is clipping or something is rattling in the mic? So I'm going to try a couple of different mics. I'm going to try a couple different volumes, pads, and just see what I can find. Okay, I got my stratocaster plugged straight into the Super Reverb. The volume is set at like 4, but that's kind of at the point where the amp starts to get into the clean, the breakup territory. It's very loud here in the room. I currently am starting with a Pyle SM57 clone. This amp should be capable of taking higher, this microphone should be more capable of taking some higher volumes. I'm running into the Audient ID22, no pad. I'm setting the level like I normally would, where basically I just eyeball it and I can see where it starts to clip visually on the screen, and I keep it a good fair bit below that even with my most powerful strum. So let's I'm gonna even start lower than that and slowly bring my way up.